So today we're going to be taking a look at a scenario where there is a United States draft scenario. So what that is basically we have two teams. In this video, it's going to be California and Texas, and each of those two teams can pick one state per round. So California, let's say they go first, they're going to go ahead and pick a state like New York. And then it's Texas's turn. They're going to pick a state like Florida. And those two teams at the end of this video will fight up against each other. So it's sort of like a sports draft with, you have your varying rounds and each team can get a pick. And that's what we're going to be doing here. So I have also done this with other continents. I've done this with the world. I've done this with Europe, and I've done this with Asia. But now I thought, let's go ahead and do it with the United States. So if you guys do enjoy this video, make sure to leave a like on it and subscribe to the channel if you're new. All the support is greatly appreciated. And yeah, let's go ahead and jump straight into this scenario. So like I said here in the beginning, we do have two teams, one of them being California and one of them being Texas. And from here, they're going to go ahead and choose every single state. Now, who goes first? Let's make it interesting. Let's have Texas go first. And with the number one pick in the United States draft, Texas is going to go ahead and get themselves Florida. Now, is Florida the best option here? I don't know. I mean, you can argue that New York would be a better pick. Maybe Pennsylvania, Ohio, Michigan. Well, not Michigan. Maybe a state like Washington or Oregon, or maybe one of these coastal states like maybe Virginia, Georgia, North Carolina. Just one of the coastal states is probably your best option. But they did go ahead and choose Florida, which, there's Florida people there. Those are always an advantage to use in combat. So that was their number one pick. So now California is on the clock and they're going to go ahead and choose New York. This is pretty obvious. New York is the probably best available state. And it's also important that we have to factor in geography and stuff. So we're not just going by like what state is the strongest. We're also going by like where are they located? Are they in a good position? New York is in a pretty good position. If California manages to get Pennsylvania, they'll be really good. So yeah, even if Texas gets any of these states up here, it's not going to matter. New York would roll over them. But speaking of Texas, it's their turn to draft. And they're going to go ahead and pick up the state of North Carolina. And they're going to go ahead and pick up the state of Ohio. Now, is that their best option? I would say Ohio is a pretty important state. It's in a pretty good geographic location, being in the Northeast area. It has a lot of economic properties, good population, probably the best state available for Texas to take. And California is going to go ahead and counter that by drafting Pennsylvania. You could argue that Pennsylvania would have been a better pickup, but they go in this round. Next up, we have Texas drafting North Carolina. Next up, we have Texas drafting Georgia. This is going to give Florida a little bit of a cushion here. So in case the blue team somehow gets all of this and pushes down, then they will have a cushion being Georgia. Georgia is also a fairly populated state. There's a lot of people living there. More people means more money, more military. So yeah, California is back up on the clock and they are going to go ahead and choose the state of North Carolina. North Carolina is another one of those heavily populated states. It has a lot of decent properties, a lot of military there, so they go ahead and pick them up here. Next up, Texas is of course back on the clock, and they're going to go ahead and pick the state of New Jersey. Now this is an interesting pick here because New Jersey is in a very bad spot, and it's also, it has a lot of population, but it may not be as powerful as you'd hope to be if you're being drafted here. Now the reason they picked New Jersey is actually, it's really smart. First of all, Philadelphia is right there, and New York City is of course right here. If they manage to get those two major cities, that's going to heavily weaken the blue team, and that's kind of a really big steal for Texas here. Next up, we have California, of course, back on the clock. They're going to go ahead and go across to the East Coast and once again pick another state. This time it's going to be Virginia. Virginia has a lot of military there. The U.S.'s Navy is based in Norfolk, so there's a lot of advantages for having Virginia. Not only is it very populated, it's also, the military stuff. A lot of volunteers, a lot of people with the guns here. I live in this state, so I know a thing or two. And now we have Texas back on the clock. They're going to go ahead and take Nevada. Now, Nevada probably shouldn't go this early, but they're going to go ahead and take them because it serves as a distraction for California. I highly doubt California has the capabilities to crusade across the United States and get to Texas, but it is their best option if they want to distract California. And California, speaking of them, is going to go ahead and pretty much do the same thing to Texas, and they're going to go ahead and take Arizona. Now, I know Arizona is not next to Texas, but it serves as that kind of cushion, so it's similar to what Georgia was for Florida. Texas will go ahead and take New Mexico. Kind of a weird pick here. Definitely reach a little bit there. California's going to get Oregon, and then Texas will go ahead. They're going to get themselves Washington. Wasn't really sure there for a second. So now the West Coast is completely filled up, and for a little bit there, it was following political affiliations, but then North Carolina got drafted, and after that, New Jersey went red, so it's no longer doing that, but it was for a little bit. All right, now we're going to go a little bit faster here because all of the more important states are out of the way. California's going to go ahead and pick up Massachusetts. Texas will get Illinois. California is going to go ahead and pick up Michigan. Texas will go ahead and get Wisconsin. California will choose Maryland. Texas will get South Carolina. California gets Minnesota. Texas will get Colorado. California is going to pick up Alaska, which is kind of an early pick. They're not really going to be doing anything in a war, but it's good to have them for some anchorage. pun intended. Texas will go ahead and draft the state of Missouri. California will get Indiana. Texas will get Utah. California will get Iowa. Texas will get Nebraska. California will pick up Maine. And Texas will get Hawaii. They're not going to be doing anything in this war, so I guess it's just the economy that matters. But now what we have left is what I call the useless states. These states do nothing in real life. They're poverty-ridden states. I guess you can make a case for Montana not being one of those, or Idaho. But all these other states suck. Yeah, they're the southern states. Even these states over here, their economies are not good. Lower-ranking states, I'm throwing shade at all of them. I don't like any of them. But yeah, so this is how it's going to play out. California will get Montana. Texas will pick up Delaware. California will get Kansas. Texas will get Idaho. California will go ahead and get Oklahoma. Texas will get Louisiana. California will get Arkansas. Texas will go ahead and choose West Virginia. California gets themselves Tennessee. Texas gets North Dakota. California will choose Wyoming. Texas will choose Mississippi. California will choose South Dakota. Texas gets Alabama. California will get Kentucky. And last but not least, well, I guess least, we have these states up here. Texas will draft Connecticut. California will get themselves Vermont. Texas will get New Hampshire. And the last pick in the draft is Rhode Island, who goes over to California. So there is the United States draft. As you can see here, it's a very divided map. There's a little bit of political affiliation going on, but not much. This looks like an election that could probably take place back in like 1940. I don't even know. This is a crazy, maybe like 1950 or 60 actually. Well, not actually, because then the South, yeah, I don't know. This election is weird if it is one. But the main point is that this map is not completely filled out. We can go ahead and do the war segment of this video. So let's go ahead and break it down a little bit. California, what they did is that they drafted heavily in the Northeast. As you can see, almost all of the northeastern states are over to California. And if they are not, then they're a pretty like minuscule state other than Ohio. Texas kind of focused on a little bit of everything. They mainly went with the deep south, as you can see, but they also went over here to like where California is in order to give them a little bit of a troublesome time. I think that's a pretty good strategy, but it does kind of leave you open. So California managed to get Arkansas and Oklahoma, which will serve as a distraction for Texas, but these states are not anything much, so Texas will obviously be able to roll right through them. But yeah, these red states over here, they're most likely screwed. I see a big battle over here, maybe even coming up to the Mason-Dixie line. As for over here, it's probably going to be like back and forth. Yeah, this is going to be interesting. So let's go ahead and just get into this war. All right, on the first day of the war, New Hampshire disappears, as well as Connecticut. Maryland and Virginia and Pennsylvanian forces push into Delaware and start an incursion into New Jersey. New York forces, they move in, and Virginian and Maryland forces push into the panhandle of West Virginia. Now, I know there's mountains here, don't really care though. As for the red team, Oklahoma, like I said, they're going to get split open and just murdered with an axe. It's Halloween, so I can say that, right? They surrender almost immediately. In Arkansas, with all their poor education and poverty, they surrender. Kansas, not much different. I really have a lot of shade for these three states here. No, I really don't know why. Not just these three, but also like these guys down here. Not Georgia, but these three. I just don't like these states. I got beef with them. Up in Iowa, nothing much is happening here. Nothing much happens there anyway. And the blue team over here in Ohio is going to go ahead and start what they like to call a gangbang. Yeah, these guys are pretty much screwed. California is going to go ahead and start an invasion into Nevada, while Washington and Oregon are going to go ahead and start to trade blows. North Dakota surrenders, probably the smart thing to do. And we have the Carolina action taking place as the North goes into the South. Speaking of the South, they're going to go north into Tennessee, and Arizona will start to get invaded from all sides. All right, so probably a couple weeks after the war started, we can see that there has been a lot of red team dominance. Well, that's what it looks like, at least. I would say that the blue team definitely has the more like victories though. They've taken over pretty much all of New Hampshire. They've got the Northeast on lock. They're pushing into South Carolina. The red team, they've pushed into these three horrible states in Arizona and Iowa. That's not really much of an accomplishment, but that could change very soon. They could start to take some pretty big states' names. Wisconsin's going to go after the Upper Peninsula here. That was just kind of a side quest for them. It was a bad side quest though, because it kind of left Illinois a little bit unguarded, and Indiana and Michigan pushing. Ohio, I'm sorry, but you're done. You're not going to make it through the rest of the video, so I might as well just get that out of the way now. Same thing with New Jersey. So the blue team has completely secured the Northeast, and now they can focus on pushing towards Texas, if that's where they want to go at least. I'm not really sure what like the main goal of each team would be. I'm assuming it would be to take out like the lead team. So if we look at all the front lines here, the red team, their goal is to obviously to get over to California, take out LA, and take out Sacramento. But for the blue team, honestly, you could, I mean, it's kind of like Texas is very well surrounded right now, but you could use all three of these these fronts get over towards Austin. So right now, they're probably going to focus on connecting up all three of these fronts in order to make one big front. So California is going to halt their advance into Nevada and instead send troops up north to take out Washington. Montana will do the same thing. And what do you know? It works well. They managed to take out Seattle, and from here, Washington surrenders, and the panhandle of Idaho falls over to the blue team, leading to this front being connected. The one issue with that is that Arizona is going to get folded. Sorry, Arizonans, it just had to happen. And now there are Texans on the border of California. Now, this is an issue because, you know, San Diego's right there, LA is up here. You have some major cities down here that you want to protect. So California troops will, of course, move back down to their home state and prepare for battle against the Texans. Up north, we have a red team offensive going into Wyoming and South Dakota, and this goes extremely well. Iowa is also affected by this as they lose all of their major cities and eventually are forced into surrender. The blue team, though, is going to go ahead and have themselves a victory here as they push into Illinois and take over Chicago. Next, they move up into Wisconsin, take out Milwaukee, and from here, it's not good for Wisconsin as they are forced into surrendering. Michigan goes ahead and gets the Upper Peninsula back, and the blue team has done just what they wanted to do. They have made themselves one large front going across the country, although it did come at certain losses. They lost a lot of ground over here in the north, they lost ground over here in Arizona, and they are losing ground in Tennessee. So now it's kind of like a battle between north and south, and the north would obviously win that again, so I guess it's just a matter of seeing it happen. The northeast is the powerhouse of the blue team, and they're going to go ahead and use that power to push back the red team. Now, of course, Texas can't send their troops everywhere. That's the big issue. They're most likely focusing in on California over here, which leaves this area kind of undefended. Now, there is Florida here, and they're most likely contributing, but that is a lot of land to contribute to. So most likely what happens here is that the blue team just swarms to the deep south, unsurprisingly, and that is until they get toward like the Florida border, in which case they're cut off and stopped. And from here they could flood into Louisiana, take over New Orleans, and get right to the border of Texas. They also go ahead and liberate Arkansas. Not sure why you'd want to do that, but yeah, the blue wave is coming and it's going great. The issue is that the red team is heavily focused in on California now, and we start to see that they have a lot of progress going for them. They liberate all of Nevada and start to push into mainland California, taking over the inland areas of the state. But now they start to get towards one of these larger cities. They get near LA, they get near San Diego, and California is going to go ahead and sound out a distress signal to its allies. Now, of course, its allies are currently crusading across the country, so they can't really do much more, but they go ahead and take out Missouri, they liberate all of Arkansas and Iowa. They begin to push back the red team up north, they take over Idaho, they take over Nebraska, and then push into Kansas. And now the manpower of the blue team is really showing, and at this point, it looks like the blue team is most surely going to win. So, one last major offensive will happen for the blue team as they push towards Denver and take over the city. They're also going to go ahead and secure Las Vegas, and at this point, the red team will surrender, or more specifically, Nevada, Utah, and Colorado will surrender. That just leaves Texas, New Mexico, and Florida. And those guys, obviously, they can't beat the whole of the United States, so they're going to surrender. Also Hawaii. So, yeah, that's going to do it for this video. I'm not doing a peace treaty because that's going to take too long. I ain't got time for that. So yeah, that's going to do it for today's video. If you guys did enjoy it, make sure to leave a like on it and subscribe to the channel if you're new. All the support is greatly appreciated. I don't really have anything else to say. Usually I have something else to say. Hope you guys are having a good day. Yeah. See you guys in the next video then. Bye. And of course, thank you to all the super fans, which include Matthew Newman, Yam, Kylie Speaks Plays, Shadow Gamer Z, Deva Edits, Mr. Bonk 7, Hammer Toad 45, Patrick Clauser, Connor the Gamer, Texan Cowboy Cheese, Poland Country Ball, Yakko, Nevada Garbage Trucks, DW Cool Dude, Soviet Ball, and Serminator. Once again, thank you guys.